Welcome to another episode of the Garage Gym Experiment podcast. Today I have Bill Engel. He has recently created Power Bells, which is a cool, nifty new product that I think a lot of home gym owners will appreciate. I met him briefly at HomeGymCon. He showcased his product to the home gym community there and got some feedback, and I believe pre-orders are live. So we're here to talk about the product, its evolution, its creation, where it's at today. But before we get into that, Bill, would you mind just giving a quick intro as to who you are?
All right, Bill Engel. I live in Charleston, South Carolina right now, originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Shout out to all the Yinzers up there. Um, so basically, I'm a truck driver. I've been driving a truck for 33 years now, and I have a trucking company, and it's me and my son. We drive big fuel tankers, semi trucks, and thank you to my son Sam. He is carrying like 99.9% of the bulk on this. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without him. Thank you, buddy. Love you. So it this whole project, Power Bells, started with Sam and I when he was a teenager lifting up in Pittsburgh, and the original prototype, and us being the guinea pigs and everything like that. And I've always had an inventive mind. God has blessed me with that, and I have a very supportive wife who lets me be creative and spend gobs of money that we really shouldn't. But yeah, we moved down to Charleston, South Carolina in 2018, and absolutely love it. We're 5 minutes from the beach, and we get there almost every day if we can. So, yeah, thank you for having me, by the way. And this is great. And also, thank you for HomeGymCon. That was a fantastic experience. My first time there, and we did debut Power Bells at HomeGymCon, and we brought some prototypes down there to get some feedback, and we definitely got it.
Awesome. Well, take me back to driving trucks. It sounds like you started your own business.
Yeah.
How long ago did you do that? And then can you tell me what like a typical job is?
Yeah. So, like I said, I got my CDL back in 1991, and I worked for a freight company, Roadway Express, for 20 years, Teamsters and stuff. And so I've been in the trucking industry since I was 18, one way or another. So when we moved down to Charleston, I had an opportunity to start my own company, hauling ethanol, which is the gasoline additive. So basically, we pick up truckloads of ethanol at one refinery and take it up to another refinery up in North Charleston, and that's pretty much what we do. It's pretty slick little thing that God has blessed us with, and we don't ever want to take it for granted. But yeah, I got my son aboard, and he has been amazing, and it's just like father-son thing. My son-in-law was with me for a while, but he got bored, so he went back to being a police officer. But yeah, so a typical day is, it's the place is open 24/7, so I just told him whatever schedule you want to do, just do it, and I'll pick up whatever's left over. So we're hauling ethanol from, like I said, one refinery to the next. It's like 6 mile trip, 6 mile back. And we usually haul like 10 loads a day. And it makes the day, it's pretty long day, but it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, that's some nice background on yourself. I appreciate that. All right, Power Bells. So, I don't know. Let's just start off with what the heck got you into like trying to create a product for the
So,
gym space?
like I said, we had a home gym up in Pittsburgh, and my son was just starting to lift, and we I always like doing different things, like working out, trying to figure out a different way to do it. And dumbbells, we just, we didn't have the space or the money to do a whole set of dumbbells, which is obviously the gold standard. So we came up with some creative ways. And And this was our first prototype. This is a PVC pipe cut down with just a plastic handle, uh, a plate with a PVC collar, and then this hook was to a barn door slider door that I took the wheel off of. That when you can rack it on your barbell and stuff. So we used
Hmm.
this as proof of concept, and I really never meant to go any further with it, but we just used it. We had both of them, and it worked. And so um, fast forward, that was 2015. So then we moved down to Charleston. Life gets in the way, throw things off to the side, and we moved down to Charleston and go through all this stuff and start the business. And like I said, with my son doing most of the loads and the bulk of the loads, it gives me time to, I do the books and stuff, but it gives me time to tinker and stuff in the workshop, and that's when I can do some damage to the checkbook. Yeah, I started. I was looking at that, and I got a little gym here, and was using it. I thought, you know what, let's try to make this better. So I did another prototype, made it out of metal, did some welding on it, and we just kept improving on it. And then last year, I just ran into a thing on Instagram for the HomeGymCon, and I thought, you know what, that would be pretty cool. And I started talking to you, and I really didn't want to do anything because I didn't have it patented yet. And in my understanding, I don't know if this is true. I'm not a patent attorney, but I heard that if you publicly disclose something, you can't patent it anymore because it's out in the public. So I really was a little leery about letting it out there until I got the paperwork and patent work done, which I did maybe a month before the show. And I think I had talked to you about
I
that. I was a
remember
little nervous
that. Yeah.
about saying anything about it. So we ended up getting the booth and everything before I even had the paperwork done, and just kind of praying that everything would work out and God would work out the timing, and of course he always does. And so we got the paperwork back, and we were able to get down there. And it I've been to different trade shows. I had some golf products. I went to the PGA show back in 2007 and 2008 with a putter and some other stuff that I did. And it's a different world. The golf world, and they were great. I'm not saying it wasn't great, but the golf world kind of looks at you like you don't belong here, or the little guy. You can't get any traction. Nobody wants to pay attention to you. Nobody wants to listen to you. You almost have to have a success story before they will pick up the phone. Um, at Home Gym Con, I was amazed. Like, big companies and the people down there, either way, they just were so, it was like a family. They were so friendly, and they wanted to help you in every way they could. I had the some of the bigger companies down there giving me advice on how to do certain things and stuff. It was incredible. It was a different world than what I was expecting from a trade show. And it really opened my eyes, and I was very thankful for all of that.
I mean, that's amazing to hear. I mean, I started the event. I didn't necessarily think of it as a trade show. So I don't even know what the label is. It was more of like a con, like a convention for consumers. But it's kind of morphed into like a combo. So I think that's why you get what you get. As far and we're definitely want to keep that spirit alive
Yeah,
for sure. Like that's what makes it special.
yeah,
But anyways, can you take me back? So like you started this thing 10 years ago, really.
yeah.
Can you take me back to that original prototype that you kind of just showed? I don't know if there was anything before that, but what did it like? What's the process for something like that? And how long did it take for you to put together? Are you like grabbing materials from here, grabbing materials from here?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it sounds like you have a little bit of experience putting products together, trying to create them, but it could,
Yeah, I'm one of those guys that I love. building things, fixing things, and I'll rip something apart and put it back together just to see if I can fix it. I don't like throwing things away. I like fixing things. I like coming up with solutions to problems, and basically that's what an inventor does. Just creates an answer to a problem. And really, this problem was we didn't have the money and space for a nice set of dumbbells, so.
Yeah.
Um, I'll go to a hardware store and start walking down the aisles, and my mind starts going. I know what I think I'm looking for, and it always cracks me up because you get the sales associate. Can I help you? I'm like, I can't help myself. If I tried explaining it to them, they just laugh and walk away anyway. But yeah, you just throw stuff together. You have a concept of what you're trying to build, and yeah, I had this big PVC pipe. It was like an 8-inch PVC pipe, I think the circumference was. So this circumference, so I cut it in half and then I tapered it, and then I bolted some padding, some floor padding in it. This is a hot water line with a bolt going through it. So this is another PVC with a little rubber hose that holds it in there. And then I had these bolts here to, when the weight sets on there, it'll set flat. So it won't rock with the curvature. It sets flat on those bolts. And like I said, it worked. We used this for years and doing all kind of stuff, and it really worked. And so after that, it kind of went when we moved down here in 18. Like I guess we lifted with that for 3 years, and when we moved down here, that got put up in the attic and hadn't thought about it. I mean, kind of, like I said, life goes on. I started the trucking company, and just lost track of everything. And then recently, have some time to start working out again, and just thought, you know what, let's try to move this along and see what we can do now that I have a little bit of time on my hands. So send cut send that started with that on for the metal. Well, no, actually I ordered 12-inch by 12-inch metal plates and cut them out with my grinder, bent them in the vise and stuff, and then welded some stuff together for the very second prototype, and then ended up getting a 20-ton brake press and a different welder. And so then the stuff from Send Cut Send, made some mock-ups. They sent me the raw material. I bent it and welded it, and those were the prototypes I brought to Home Gym, the HomeGymCon, because I went down there with, I didn't expect to sell anything. I did not. I even told my web guy, I said, I don't want anything live because these prototypes I wouldn't sell. They're not fine tuned enough. I would never sell something like that. So my main goal was to go down to HomeGymCon and get feedback, get these in people's hands, give me some information so I can make it better. And I was just blown away how much people love these things. Truly, I mean, we were just in awe of that, and got some great feedback from a lot of people. Which when we came back, like I just did a video on our version that's in production now. We took a lot of ideas from the people at HomeGymCon and redid it, and also. I'd like to give a shout out to Wait It Out, Brian with Wait It Out. We're collaborating on this Power Bell version 5, and he is phenomenal at manufacturing and figuring out how to do things in the most efficient and cheapest way, but still with the quality that you want. And he's been fantastic. I mean, I was doing a lot of welding, and the welding and the grinding of the welds to make sure it's good enough to powder coat and paint and do all that takes forever, especially for me. I'm not a professional welder. I can get by, but he kind of said, yeah, why don't we try to get away from welding? And I'm like, how is that possible? And I'll tell you this: anybody who invents things, if you are so in love with your product that it has to be built exactly the way you want it, you're in for a hardship. I mean, you've got to be able to bend and go with it a little bit, be a little bit flexible on it. And because your idea might not be the exact perfect idea, I learned that a long time ago, and now I can kind of go with it. And Brian came up with some great ideas to get rid of the welding, to do the hook without welding. And so we came up with the hook, and it's just a straight piece of metal. Now, this is a thinner version. It's going to be double this thickness, but it's a straight piece of metal, and they bend it and powder coat it, and you're done. Where I had a hook and I had a rubberized, shrink tubing on it, and then I welded it well, this is the plate that Send Cut Send sent me, and I would take a rod and bend it around in the hook and weld it to this, grind it down, paint it. So those kind of went obsolete. Brian kind of put me on the get rid of the welding aspect, and it made a world of difference. It lowers the manufacturing costs, it gets it out quicker, and the power bells itself, they had we made a tube because when I was down at the show, I talked to somebody from Rogue, and they asked me the weld. Our sleeve was welded directly to the power bell, and he said, "Is it a through weld?" And I'm like, "What do you mean a through weld?" He said, "Is it on the surface or all the way through?" I said, "No, it's surface." He said, "You got to be careful because if the integrity of the weld breaks, you could be liable." And I'm like, "Okay." So our fourth version had a hole like this through the power bell, and the idea was to put the sleeve all the way through, welded on the bottom and the top. Okay, that'll be great. And then Brian said, "Well, why don't we get rid of the weld altogether?" And I'm like, "All right, how would we do that?" So we were on the phone for, I don't know, 3 hours one day. It was just going back and forth. And he said, "How about a bolt through it?" And we went back and forth and brainstormed that. And we came up with having when it gets laser cut, to do a square. And I don't know if everybody knows what a carriage bolt is, but it's the rounded bolt that has the square piece that fits in, that keeps it from moving or rotating because that square locks in there. So we had the laser cut in the power belt a square just for that carriage bolt to fit up through there, and it wouldn't move. So then we have our sleeve with the threaded end, and so the carriage bolt now is underneath the padding. It's sticking out, and it goes in that square, locks in there. So now we can just thread that on there. And the cool thing is, and Brian kind of was talking about this in a comment on one of his Instagram things. We can do with one power bell with that carriage bolt. It's a 5/8 inch carriage bolt, which I'm told will hold thousands of pounds. Not that you're ever going to need that, but we can thread our Olympic size, and we can take a standard size and thread it too. So now one power bell, we don't have to make two different type power bells. We have one power bell with a carriage bolt that you can bolt a standard or an Olympic sleeve on it, and that's it. You're done. And it saves costs of having to do two different power bells, because I was making them with welding 1 inch standard bar and welding a different 2 inch, Olympic.
Yeah.
And it was double the work, and really standard, there wasn't a lot of demand for it. So now it's a matter of you just, whatever one you want, you just bolt it on. And what Brian was saying, and this will be great for the HomeGymCon crowd, they get pretty creative. So this carriage bolt now is sticking out, and Brian's like, "We can do any accessory we want to just bolt on that." I have no idea what that would be besides the collars, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are going to get pretty creative. That it's a 5/8 inch female thread. You fit it on there, and they can do all kind of crazy stuff. But so it's going to really open up some options for us down the road. So
Cool.
that we're really excited about that. And like I said on my video before, but I'll just go through it. But so this is 3 millimeter steel, and this is from Send Cut Send, which they're awesome. And but the manufacturer that we're having do this it's going to be 6 millimeter steel, so it's going to be double this thickness, and so is the hook. So it's going to be really, and I use the word beefy. My kids made fun of me, but it makes sense. It's a cool word. So it's going to be beefy, and it's definitely not going to go anywhere. We upgraded the padding. And Brian was messing around. He actually has a laser engraver that he did a Power Bell logo on the padding.
Oh,
So I'm like,
nice.
that's really cool. So that's going to be extra premium there. So yeah, we have the padding. We're going to have the powder coating. The strap just
Right.
fits in these slots. So you fit that through, and it stops there. You put your arm under there, and then that's what locks it down to your arm so it doesn't move. That was a real popular thing down at the show. So that's still available, and it's just removable. You just take it right out. Um, so yeah, that with the carriage bolt, and also we widened it. Like, I don't have any of the other prototypes right next to me, but they were pretty much straight down, and we widened this out. So now your arm has more room. It doesn't touch the side. So that was one of the suggestions. The other suggestion was, hey, how can I hook this up to my cable machine so I can do cable work? And I'm like, okay, I don't understand. Like, you have handles for that, but all right, whatever. So this hole that we just drilled through can fit a carabiner, and you can hook it up to do cable stuff. I'm like, it wasn't that big of a deal to do. So now that gives
Yeah.
another option. Well, and then another thing was, the original was rounded to match the radius of a 10 pound weight. So when you set it on the ground, it would tend to roll over. So one of the guys said, well, you got to make something so it stands so it won't roll over. So when we did this, we put, I have it set right here. So we put the stand on it so it sticks down below. So now when you set it down, it just stays upright. It doesn't roll over because of that. It
Mm-hmm.
kind of makes for a nice stand. So that was another improvement we made. So we really went back to the drawing board on it, and a lot of the feedback we got from HomeGymCon, we really took it to heart, and we listened. And another thing, Michael, who was going around for you doing videos for HomeGymCon, we had a ergonomic handle. It was like rounded and thicker in the middle. I thought it was pretty cool, and it was didn't have the heavier knurling. He goes, no. He goes, serious lifters want straight knurled handles. I'm like, all right, I'll take your word for it. So we went back to that, and we put needle bearings in there, so it's nice and it has a nice smooth rotation. So yeah, we really tried to pay attention. That was the whole point of going down there with those prototypes. I had no intention of selling any. I just wanted feedback. I wanted to hear people's ideas, how we can make it better, or was it even worth making it better? I mean, was this
Right.
something my son and I liked and nobody else did, and or was this something that could be brought to the market? And yeah, it was a resounding yes. People want this, and it was a really it was an eye opening experience. It was a humbling experience. It was, because like my wife and I always say, this all comes from God. I mean, we're just so blessed to even be able to have this opportunity, and it's been amazing. So yeah, we opened up the pre-orders just 2 days ago, and within 5 minutes of me posting the pre-orders available, my
Mm.
phone lit up and they started selling. And
Oh, that's
Brian
great.
from Waited Out, he put them on his website, and he texted me. He said, I texted him. I said, I sold the first two. And he said, I just sold two myself. And so it was starting to be this competition. But yeah, so he's selling them on his website, and we're selling them on ours. And yeah, we're thrilled. I mean, it took off pretty good, and we have a limited supply on the first run, and it looks like we're going to be running out pretty soon. So we're
Very cool. I'm gonna take you back a few times. So prototype. So you showed the very first one. You
right.
brought some more to Home Gym Con, and now you have this. Are those the three, or are there more editions of the prototypes?
Like I said, this is version 5.
Okay, five. You did say that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is version 5. I just have them over in the other room. But okay, so version 1 you saw. Version 2 was a homemade 12-inch by 12-inch, 1/8 inch thick metal plate that I used my grinder to cut out. and I didn't have as much of the curve to it. And the cool part was the handle, the angle of the handle, the way it sits, you know, compared to your wrist, how it locks in, it had to be just right. Because if it was back too far, your wrist bends back. If it was too far forward, so it your wrist just sets in there, and it's almost like a counterbalance, like whole physics balance thing that just, you know, through trial and error we got lucky. So yeah, this one on this fifth generation, we kind of went with it's almost like a 3 inch offset, I'm guessing, but it just works better. Like every prototype from the first until now was like one little improvement. Then I would run out and I would make one, because I would make a cardboard of it first as a proof of concept, and then I would go get the metal or go through Send Cut Send and have them laser cut it and weld it and bend it and then see how it worked. And if we didn't like something, like I went through like 2 or 3 rounds of Send Cut Send with stuff, and by the time I got it, which was really fast, like days, by the time I got it, we had come up with a different idea, and that whole thing was obsolete. So yeah, it was a fast pace between, I think, 3 and 2, 2 and 5. Those three in between kind of went boom, 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 and they were out the door before we came up with all what we have on version 5. So the process from I mean, I can't even include the first prototype because, like I said, that sat up in the attic for a while. Um, but this whole process has probably been in a year and a half,
Got it.
and just getting it going up to where we are.
And I'd be curious. You don't have to. I mean, if this is too specific, just let me know. But I'd be curious to hear like what does you mentioned going to Send Cut Send and getting this material and this. How much does like it cost to put together a prototype, and like maybe even like how much time does it take to do like a specific prototype?
Yeah, that's. I mean, Send Cut Send is like, if for prototyping metal and stuff, they're fantastic because I don't have CAD drawings. I don't do CAD drawings. So what I'll do is, like, I will send them. Wait, let me see if I have it. Yeah. So this is my cardboard cutout of it. This is what I started with.
Okay.
So I'll do all the measurements on a paper, send it to Send Cut Send. They convert it into a CAD drawing for like $50,
Hmm.
and they'll make as many as you want. They put it on their website in your cart, I guess, and then you can go to their your cart and order as many of those as you want. And obviously, the more you order, the cheaper it gets. But I did three three power bells, which was six of these cutouts in metal, and then six of the hook cutouts, which I had to weld and everything. And it was like, I don't know, 250 bucks, something like that. It was cheap, relatively cheap for making prototypes. I mean, if you go to a fab shop and ask them to do a prototype like that, I mean, you got to have some basic skills. But if you go to a fab shop and just say, "Yeah, do this," you're going to pay, and
Hmm.
you're going to pay big. So, yeah, Send Cut Send is a great resource for metalworking or aluminum or whatever you want. And they do bending, they do powder coating, all that kind of stuff if you want that. So yeah, I mean, relatively inexpensive, and you can get a prototype done in, I don't know, a couple weeks.
Got it.
So it works really well.
Cool. Well, I mean that's I mean even 250 is not free. It's not
Oh,
free
yeah.
in a few weeks of going back and forth. And then another follow up to that is you have these prototypes, and then you have some big decisions like the patent and like going to HomeGymCon, like taking a week out of your life to do that,
Yeah.
spend probably a couple grand in fees and booth prices and hotels and all of that. But I mean, and then you the patent was like a month before. So can you tell me about the decision to just like kind of go all in? I know you mentioned like, hey, we want to get the feedback. Also, is this worth it? But at
Right.
the same time, you're kind of going all in. Can you give me just a little background on that decision and what made you ultimately do it?
Yeah. One of our favorite sayings is enjoy the free fall of faith. So our thing is, just let God handle the details. Just jump in. Just take the free fall of faith. And you pray about things and doors start opening up. That's how our family rolls. But um as far as just getting the show and everything, yeah, it was money. It definitely
Yeah.
was money. And um I'm glad we were able to do it, but I don't want to run down or take a path that is going to be a dead end. Like, my my wife is a saint, and because this isn't the first project that I've had. Like I said, back in 2007, 2008, I had a patent on a putter, a golf putter, and I went out and I had 500 made. Just went to, and I kind of made the prototype in the garage out of wood, took it to the local machine shop and said, "Yeah, I want 500 of these made." Well, then I realized, well, I made a mistake, so now I have to redo this and this. It cost us a lot of money,
Mhm.
because I just jumped in and I wasn't thinking it through, young and dumb. But yeah, we spent a lot of money. So now every time I say, "Hey, I have an idea, I want a patent," he kind of like gets a little twitch going and says, "Okay, have you prayed about it?" Okay. And so, yeah, we've been down that road before, and now I like to think I'm more mature or older, so I don't jump in with both feet right now. I just, like I said, do send cut send. You're putting out a little money to see if it works, see if you can make it the way your mind is. You use it at home, do a proof of concept. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law, actually, I'll give my brother-in-law credit. TJ, he came up with a wider design for that. That's on you, TJ. Thank you. But yeah, we proof of concept with the prototypes, and everybody seemed to like it. But they're your family. What are they going to say? So yeah, it's important to get some feedback from people that aren't going to tell you what you want to hear. Um, and truthfully, like the Instagram, all the comments and everything, thank the Lord, I haven't had any negative comments. I really haven't. There's been a lot of constructive criticism, like you should do this or you should try this, and there's some really wacky ideas that you're like, wow, that's a little out there, but um, I've been really, really thankful that it's been all positive. I mean, that's what I mean. This community is so much different than the golf community where I was, doing stuff before. It's almost like a family. They want to help each other. It's not a cutthroat, trying to knock the other competitor out of there. Yeah, that's a cool idea. And like Brian with Wait It Out, I mean, he's been invaluable to us in getting a lot of stuff done, hooking me up with a manufacturer and doing certain things that in the manufacturing process, I had no idea. Like I have a great idea, I can build it at home, but how do I scale this up? And that's where somebody like Brian comes in. If you're in that spot where you're looking for uh, somebody to really help you along and you're stuck, look up Brian at Wait It Out. He's amazing, amazing. We have some stuff planned out already. We're collaborating on power bells, but we already have two or three deep in the hopper already that we're going to be working on together too. So it's I think Brian and I are going to have a good relationship moving forward.
Awesome. Well, I will just forewarn you, there will be some trolls. um,
I'm I really did. I was waiting for it because I'm not the best on social media. I rely on my son and my daughter to. I'll give you an example. Uh, Kenzie from Capex Labs, she was at the show, and she really loved the Power Bells, and she was on Garage Gym Life doing a podcast with him, and I thought she gave a shout out to Power Bells, and I thought that's really cool. So my mind, look, I'm 57. Okay. So I don't, my social media skills are real low. So I thought I want to post that on my Instagram account on Power Bells. So I took my wife's phone, put it on a stand, played the thing, took my phone, and I'm trying to video it. And I uploaded it. Within 30 seconds, my daughter called me and said, "Take that down right now." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So I did screenshot something, and within 30 seconds of her calling, my son was texting her saying, "The only thing more cringe than dad videoing heavy breathing in the background." So
Oh, that's great.
yeah, raised my kids with a lot of sarcasm, so but yeah, I rely on them to help me navigate the social media aspect of it, because I didn't know there were so many rules and whatever you could or couldn't do. But yeah, they really helped me out with that. But yeah, I told my son I was expecting to get some hate, something, and I mean, thank you everyone for not. But I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just open to suggestions. I I've been inventing things and doing things for a while, and I love feedback. I love it. And if I can change the product for the better, and it's not going to cost an arm and a leg to do it, and it's going to make it better, then I'm all for it. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you mentioned you're not an expert at social media, but the first few videos that you did were just really raw and transparent and just like, I'm doing this kind of thing, and this is what we've got. And I think, if you put yourself out there, it, I don't know, it has the potential to draw the right people. And I think like there's something to just to that, as opposed to just like the fancy social media post with a lot
Yeah.
of like great graphics. So I think I do, like you mentioned, like you don't have much experience, but I think the way you did it was the right way to do it. And I think it also took guts. I don't know if it seems like I thought you did a great job, but it's probably not something you've done a ton of times. So yeah, kudos to you for doing that. In regards to your conversations at Home Gym Con, I'm just very curious to hear, like, what was a typical conversation? It sounds like you met a wide variety of people. You've mentioned you've talked with like you mentioned someone from Rogue came over. You mentioned content creators. You mentioned just like general people coming by and checking out the product. I'd be curious to hear just like who did stop by, and what was, you had some very specific recommendations, and then also what else? Just curious from my end to hear.
Yeah, it ran the gamut. And like a lot of the companies, the bigger companies, like we went down there with the prototypes, and in my mind, I'm looking for somebody to help us manufacture it or license it. I'm thinking I don't know anything about manufacturing or a production of this product. I think it's going to be good, but I don't. That's not my world. And so I went down there thinking, okay, I want to go talk to Rogue, Rep, Titan, ATX, all, Body Solid, all of them. I went around. My brother-in-law and I went around to all of them and brought the Power Bells with us and talked to them. And I thought, it would be, yeah, okay, thanks, and go away. It was it was the exact opposite. It was just really like they took the time to talk to us, kind of take the power bell, work with it a little bit. Yeah, this is really cool. Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Like Tim with Titan Fitness was the one who was really concerned about the weights falling off if you're holding it up like on an upside down or 45-degree angle. And I'm like, yeah, no, the collar is holding up to 100 pounds. It hasn't fallen off. And he goes, yeah, but that's a liability and stuff. So then I started thinking, okay, well, nobody's going to want to touch this, or I don't want to open myself up later. So that's when, it came up with this collar, the solid bar with
Yeah.
the channel and the holes, and it works really, really well. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, that solves that problem, because a lot of the bigger companies will tell you the problems that they've had in the past. Like Rogue, he was telling me with the through weld, he said, if you you know pass this off to somebody else and they do a crappy job welding, and that weld breaks,
Mm,
and you're going to get sued. And
mm,
I'm thinking, I never thought of that. I mean, once you weld it,
yeah.
now I welded it myself, and I over welded, but I mean, I don't know if I pass this off somewhere and have it welded, they're going to do the exact job I would. But so that kind of stuff really, really sunk home, and I took it to heart because they've had those issues, they've had those problems, and yet they were willing to share that. And Rep Fitness, when I went over there, he said, "Well, let me come to your booth. Let me check it out." He walked over and was checking it out, and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. You
Yeah.
taking time over. So that was what really impressed me down at Home Gym Con, was even the biggest of the big companies. ATX was the same way when we went in there. I was DMing with an ATX rep before we went down to the show, and he was fantastic. And he said, "Yeah, stop over, or we'll stop over," and stuff like that. And so that was just the bigger companies. But like the influencers that came by, Coop, BJ, Michael, and so many of them that took the time to video, and vintage weights and stuff. He videoed too, another Pittsburgher.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, they would video and ask me questions and do a little bit of interview too. And the one thing we got from everybody, when you look at it, even from when you're walking by, you look at it and you're like, I don't get it, it doesn't. But once you get your hands on it and try it, it was like the light bulb went off. You could see it in almost every person that tried it, because we would be stopping people, hey, try power bells, and they'd be like, yeah, all right. But after they tried it, then you would see this big smile on their face, and the light bulb goes off, and they're like, this is really cool. This feels way more stable than I thought it would. And that's what I kept telling people. You have to try it. It's not something you can, because there's nothing else like it on the market. And for people to stare at something like this and think, all right, how's that going to feel? And one of the things that I addressed before we even got to the show is we had some people say, well, okay, yeah, from the videos that I did, okay, yeah, but when you get 100 pounds on there, that's gonna kill your forearm. And and to be honest, I didn't know, because I can't do that with 100 pounds on a bench press. So I went to a powerhouse powerlifting gym in Charleston, and I put the videos up on the website and Instagram of guys. I went in there and asked the owner if we could do some video stuff, if he could line up some guys that could do that kind of weight, and he's like, yeah. So we had 3 guys test it out with 100 pounds on each power bell, and that was with the prototypes, and just ask them questions afterwards. How did that feel on your forearm? How did that feel on your wrist? Was it comfortable? Did it feel stable? And it went. They loved it. They really did. And they said, no, you don't feel it on your forearm at all. It's all in your wrist, just like a barbell. You feel it in your chest and your wrist. It feels really stable. It locks down. It isn't pulling your arm or wrist back. It just kind of brought it home that it worked, and even I had it up to, I think, 60 pounds was my maximum, and it felt good to me. But
Hmm.
now that they did 100 pounds plus the 5 pounds with the power bell, so 105 pounds, and it worked, and it was comfortable. And so now I was like, okay, that's some great feedback. And so then we were on the right track. So when people down at the Home Gym Con asked me, yeah, but what if you put a lot of weight on it? I had enough weight. If you want to try it, we got it. And then I would show them those videos. We had that playing on a loop at the show of those guys using the 100 pounds, and it really worked well. And people coming by, a lot of, like Kenzie, personal trainers of people, really the light bulb started going off, like, this is so portable and so small. It has so many varieties of exercises between kettlebell and dumbbells and everything, that we could take this to our customers and have basically a whole gym set up without bringing a lot of equipment with us. So that went over really well with a lot of the trainers. I heard that multiple times from the trainers, that they could be using this with customers. And so, yeah, just the interactions. what amazed me most was their reactions after they tried it. Like once you actually got them to come try it, try it out, get on the bench, use it with the strap and the curls and stuff, and seeing the light bulb moment go off, and then they were like, "This is really cool. This is really cool," and that's what kind of makes you like, okay, yeah, kind of helps
Awesome.
you, you know,
Awesome.
the process.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I guess we're 2 months later. You've made a lot of revisions to the product. Working with Waited Out, I think they went for pre-sale. Was it yesterday or a couple days ago?
2 days ago, yep,
We're recording this on Thursday, so
yeah,
record.
yeah,
So
Tuesday. We
can you tell me about the pre-order? What it entails, how long it's going to take to get your pre-order,
Yeah.
anything you'd want to mention there.
Yeah, we actually we purposely waited on the pre-order until like the manufacturers told us 4 to 6 weeks for lead time from when we started, and that was probably at least 2 weeks ago, if not three. So I wanted to wait. I didn't want to do it right away and have that lag time. So we waited, and then when we were basically a month out, I've said, okay, well, I think we should start talking about it. And Brian and I were still going back and forth with, a padding, somebody to do the padding, somebody to do, the handles and the sleeves, and to CNC machine those and turn them on a lathe and everything. So we were going back and forth with those things, like the manufacturer of the actual power bell and the hook that are going to be doing the laser cutting, the bending, the powder coating. They were the ones we were worried about. Everything else we knew we could get done pretty quickly. And so once the manufacturer of the actual metal bending and powder coating told us, yeah, 4 to 6 weeks, we kind of waited a couple weeks before. Then we thought we were pretty safe. So the pre-orders, I mean, we're hoping to get them in our hands within like 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, I hope it doesn't take any longer than that, because from what the manufacturer was 4 to 6 weeks from the whole start of the process. I know it's been at least 2 weeks. Matter of fact, tomorrow will be 2 weeks. So yeah, we should be right on track with 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully there's no holdups, but yeah, I want to get these out to people. I want to get them out to uh, to the people that order them, and get them out to some reviewers and stuff like that. And yeah,
Yeah,
get
yeah.
this guy.
Like you said, it'll be interesting to see what the first purchasers do with the product, how creative they get, and
Yeah,
hopefully give you some other ways to market it. Cool. Well, you mentioned some other products in the
yeah,
works. Is that hidden or?
yeah. Right now we're not talking about it. I told Brian, I said, look, I already built the prototype for what we're doing, and I showed it to him, and he's into it, on board. Um, it has something to do with dumbbells. I'll throw that out there. Little hint. It has something to do with dumbbells. It's not a dumbbell. It's an accessory for a dumbbell. But yeah, I told him, I said, listen, before we go down that road, I want to get power bells up and running into the second or third run, however that may be, and then we'll start going into this and seeing what we can do. But yeah, he's excited because yeah, when him and I get on the phone, we're on the phone for hours at a time, just talking about ideas and what we can do, and even like even some of an old patent that I had 13 years ago. Um, I showed him a video of it, and I really like that. I think we can. I think we should bring this back and try to get going on it. And it had nothing to do with fitness. It was a construction, something with construction and cutting plywood. But
Hmm.
he liked it, and he wanted to roll with it. So he's meeting somebody, I think, today about, and going to bring that up. So there's going to be a lot of different products and stuff that Brian and I go down the road together with. But yeah, there's the next thing with the fitness industry. Um, we'll have to do, like I hinted, with dumbbells, an accessory for a dumbbell. and it'll cover all dumbbells, the power blocks, the Iron Master squares, the adjustables, the hex,
Hmm.
whatever you have, you're going to be able to use it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And the last thing that I have is, you mentioned like tools like Send Cut Send, and you've been through the prototype process. There's a lot of people in this community who may have good ideas
Yeah.
that want to do some sort of prototype. Do you have some prototype to eventually maybe pass on to somebody else? Do you
Yeah.
have any advice for them? Any other good tools that you'd recommend?
Yeah, I mean, before you go running down the road of a patent attorney and stuff, and I've been down that road, I've been burned long, long time ago. And what I have learned is um, get a prototype. I mean, if you're not skilled enough to make a prototype, find somebody that is that isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg. I mean, if you go to a fab shop and you try to explain it to them, they I'm sorry, they're going to rake you over the coals. So if you can do, a lot of people jot stuff down on a napkin or a piece of paper and they think, okay, this is going to be great, and they take it to somebody and just say, make this. They really don't have a concept of what it takes and how much money it's going to take to do that. And that's where you have to really kind of step back. I've been doing this a while. Brian's been doing this a while. We know how much it costs. I mean, I know I'm going to spend a couple $1,000s probably getting an idea off the ground, and hopefully it works. And we can move on from there. But sometimes you have to bite the bullet, and it's a gamble. But make a prototype. If you go to a company for licensing and stuff, um, they're not going to want something on a piece of paper. They're going to want some kind of working prototype, something that you can really show them that it works. That it's a concept, not on a napkin or a piece of paper. That the concept actually works. And so, if you can do a prototype, I highly advise you figure out some way to do that. Even if you do, like I said, I make prototypes out of cardboard instead of metal, because you can get a 12 by 12 piece of cardboard and cut it up and fold it just like a piece of metal, and then slap a handle in there, and you can do stuff like that. Made a cardboard template for the padding that goes in there, and this hole is where the carriage bolt. So there's a lot to be said for prototyping stuff, and just do basic stuff. It doesn't have to be a fully working functional. You're never going to get exactly the way you want it on a prototype. Never.
Hmm.
You're always going to be evolving it. And power bells, this is the fifth version of it, and I have a lot of old versions sitting in the other room that I'm thinking, what the heck am I going to do with those? But that's just the way it goes. And just be more realistic about what it's going to cost, because I've talked to a couple different people in the fitness space just alone, that people call them up with ideas all the time, and they kind of give them a price on what a prototype would be, and the person, they never hear from them again, or they give them some really nasty comment like you're ripping me off, or you're trying to, it costs a lot of money, especially with metal and doing CAD and all that kind of stuff. So it does cost a lot of money. So I'm not trying to scare anybody away, but I'm just saying, if you can make a prototype out of wood, out of plastic, out of a 3D printer or whatever, if you know a buddy that has a 3D printer and you can make it out of plastic or clay, I mean, it doesn't matter. If you can have a proof of concept before you go to a fab shop or a manufacturer and have them charge you a boatload of money, and it's more than likely that first prototype you're not going to use anyway. So you're going to spend thousands of dollars, and it's not going to work the way you want it. So you're going to have to do another one and another one and another one. So at least if you have the ability to make a rough basic prototype and make just prove a concept, just prove that it works. This might have cost me $40, but
Mm-hmm.
prove that it worked, and it worked for a lot of years for us. So that's all you need to do. Just prove that it works. Just prove that you're solving a problem that people have. I mean, if you're solving a problem that you and a neighbor has, and you're the only two people in the world who have that problem, don't waste your money. I mean, it's not solving a problem for everybody. It has to be a demand. That would be my advice. Make sure it's a demand. Make sure it solves a problem, and make sure it's not so niche, small that you're not going to make any money on it. You'll end up spending more money producing it than you would selling it if enough people like the fitness industry, the golf industry, the fishing industry, and the hunting industry. I mean, that's crazy. Like you can come up with stuff and they are open to all new ideas and they'll try anything. And if it works, you'll sell a lot. But like I said, if you're just doing it for you and your Uncle Sal, don't bother. I mean, it'll be a great thing if you could figure out a way to make a process more efficient, but it might not be something that's patentable or sellable. So
Seems like good advice.
yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time. Is there anything else we should cover before I close it?
Uh, Not that I could think of, just powerbells.net.
Powerbells.net. Well, I'll make sure to plug the links.
Yeah,
And yeah, best of luck with the next phase of all of this. I'm glad you had such a great experience at HomeGymCon. I thought this was a great conversation. I think a lot of people are going to get some value out of it. And yeah, that's
I
going to do
appreciate
it.
it. I really do appreciate your time.
You got it.
All right. Thanks a lot. Go Power.